Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the Warren City School District Board of Education meeting. This is our regular meeting. Today is Tuesday, October the 19th, 2021. The time is 6:02 p.m. and we are at Warren G. Harding High School in the cafetorium, and we are live streaming with the help of WSCN, and that's available at warrencityschools.org. This is a meeting of the Warren City Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. There is a time for public participating during the meeting as indicated in agenda item number 11. At this time, I'll call the meeting to order, and if everyone would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Could you please call the roll?
Mr. Falley?
Here.
Mrs. Patterson?
Here.
Mrs. Shannon?
Here.
Mr. Walker? Mrs. Lamperos?
Here. Everyone is present and accounted for. We have no need at this time for agenda item number 3, so we will move on to agenda item number 4, which is communications. Mr. Shiro, please.
I just have one communication for the board this evening. I just wanted to draw your attention to TCTC Board Representative Bob Faulkner's 3-year term with TCTC expires in December. And so as you plan for your organizational meeting in January, you will need as a board to determine who the representative will be, whether it is a Board of Education member current, former, community member. It is totally at the discretion of the board for that appointment who would be representing TCTC moving forward. So I just want to draw your attention to that. I saw that TCTC in their minutes from their meeting, I believe last week, had made mention of that for the 3-year terms that were expiring at the end of 2021.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I would like to entertain a motion for the adoption of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Falley?
Yes.
Mrs. Patterson?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Mrs. Shannon?
Yes.
Mrs. Lamperos?
Yes, motion carries. The agenda is adopted. Agenda item number 6, the treasurer's report. Ms. Scortino, please.
I don't have much for you tonight, just saving it for your next meeting, which will be the 5-year forecast
Yeah.
update. So you'll get
Already.
a wealth of information at that point in time. We have scheduled a Finance Advisory Committee meeting on October 29th at noon. It'll be via Zoom. And other than that, we're just busy with I'm busy with the forecast and the audits going on, which is going well, and just operations keeping busy.
Okay, very good.
So,
Well, I have a question.
Go.
Will you send out the Zoom information to board members, or if any of us want to attend?
Yes.
via Zoom,
Well,
please?
we have to, because it's a committee, so officially the finance committee members can participate. I think if the other board members want to tune in to just listen,
Yeah, that's
that
what I
is
mean.
okay, but we
Okay.
cannot participate in that.
Gotcha.
Because then it would be considered a Board of Education meeting.
right.
So
Correct.
we'll have to put you on mute. Note to yourselves, if you're not finance committee, mute, okay?
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, agenda item number 7, the superintendent's report. Mr. Shiro, please.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Lacy. They have them? Okay.
Yes.
I'd like to share with you guys some information. If you could pull out your photo referencing the local heroes corner that is now part of the athletic wing at Warren G. Harding High School. As I've communicated previously, the Warren Sports Hall of Fame had a local Heroes Corner recognizing individuals for supporting the local athletes over the years. And this wasn't just in Warren City, it was in surrounding areas as well. These plaques were displayed at the Warren Public Library in the past, and at some point, the decision was to ask of the schools to display these. However, somewhere in the mix, it kind of fell through a bit, and we worked with Mr. Carlson, Mr. McLean, located the plaques, brought them to us, and they are now on display in the athletic area near the small gym, caddy corner to the full display of the Warren Sports Hall of Fame. The wall was repainted last week, and they were installed today. So if you wish, you could check it out this evening, if you have time. If not, here's a display for when you are there, and you'll be able to recognize that. So I'd like to thank all of those that were involved. I know Mr. Carlson wanted to be here this evening. He is a past longtime board member for the Warren City Schools, and very dedicated to our schools and the community. And Mr. Carlson and I talked the other day, and he was unable to make it, but he wishes everyone well and is very excited that we were able to accomplish this in such a short amount of time.
Yeah.
So,
It
any
looks
questions
very-
on this?
No, it looks awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for getting that done. I
Absolutely.
do remember those conversations years ago.
Yeah, and Mr. Nicholson, thank you for
Yeah.
helping me about 2 months ago, trying to figure out what has happened in the missing years with this information. Again, they were never delivered to the schools, never officially given to us. Once we took care of that, we put this on the fax track and expedited the process so that we can have a fabulous display.
Yeah, that looks really nice.
So that concludes my superintendent's report. At this time, I'd like to turn the superintendent's report over to John Lacey, Executive Director of Business Operations, and he's going to give the board as well as the community an update on the facade porch remediation. Not the facade, the porch.
Porch,
The porch remediation project.
the
Mr.
flat
Lacey?
part on the ground.
Yes, so the porch project is moving along pretty nicely. Just also wanted to let everybody know that once we took off the limestone, Sean Shimko went over, we have a metal detector,
Ooh, what'd you
and
find?
we kind of went through to see if anything did, so if anybody lost a class ring or anything like that. You know.
Oh,
Nothing that elaborate. We found 2 buttons and a quarter. So, Sean, but
what was
I
the
think
date on the quarter?
1997.
Oh, okay.
So with it, we went over Friday, spoke to the contractor was there and the restoration company was there, and they found some interesting things so far since they tore off. Number one is that as much as the porch was pulling away from the facade, it was also starting to sink. So you could kind of see in a couple of those pictures there, they had to secure the banisters with the urns and all those things, because as they were tilting away, they were also starting to come down. That is in line now and looks much, much better. We also found that there was also, we had the limestone, then we had probably a good 10 inches of dirt, and then under that, there was another base, another concrete base below that. So that was kind of interesting as to how it was originally constructed. They do feel that the banisters, the urns, all those things will be able to be maintained and improved.
Nice.
So that's a good thing. Kind of the bad news, I don't say it's bad news, I think we were expecting it. The limestone slabs, once they were removed, they actually found that there was a lot more deterioration on the bottom of the slabs than what they were expecting. The reason for that is, and I was talking to Mr. Fowley about this before the meeting, the dirt underneath everything, the soil was a lot wetter than what they were expecting. Even with a lot of this dry weather we've had, if you were to go up there, you could kind of see it was still really, really damp. So there was a tremendous significance of moisture that was being held underneath that porch. There was an original drainage system that was there, kind of at the front of the porch. There was a trough with pipes that went out, but it was very well deteriorated. And when I first came to the board with this issue and met with the contractor, he kind of, I think I said, gave this like, out of a 10 being the worst possible, he gave it about a 6 or a 7. He advanced that up to about an 8 once they started to go through. So kind of the bad news with the limestone is, right now, he feels there's only about 20 to 25% of the slabs that will be reusable. So that is kind of where we're going to be with the next steps on that. But the process itself has been good. We've had no problems. One of the main people who's there for the restoration period, he's worked on several Warren City Schools projects before and was actually really kind of enjoying himself. But as you can kind of see through the photos, you can really kind of look at the amount of deterioration that's kind of taken place and what they've done, you know, to shore up, and they've also put new block there in place of the wood, and then you can also see some of the limestone slabs that did come off
How interesting.
of the porch. So everything's still good. They won't commit to a time frame on everything yet, which I don't blame them right now.
Yeah, no.
Because again, delivery of whatever additional limestone we would need could be a future issue. But right now, everything's good, so.
Okay.
Any questions?
Any questions, anybody?
I just wanted to reiterate, as I communicated previously with the board, our visit on Friday with Sean, Karen, John, myself, was, I appreciated seeing it. I've been there a few times. I'm seeing progress. I was satisfied with the work they're doing and how it's looking, seeing the banisters and stuff straight up, talking to them about, you know, the need to replace, you know, the drainage, and them understanding, you know, concerns that we have, keeping the aesthetics to the true of what it was intended to be. They're on page with us. And I think it was a good visit.
Okay, thank you very much. It's very fascinating to look at. Okay, so that's it?
That concludes
You
the
want-
superintendent's reports for this evening.
Thank you. We always wait for that little announcement.
Record
All
that.
right, let's move on to agenda item number 8, which is our Board of Education Committee reports. Athletics. Do we have anything, Mr. Nicholson? I do. Okay, come on up.
Good evening, everyone.
Good
Senior
evening.
football and cheer recognition will be this Friday against Austintown Fitch. Really big game. The ceremony will start at about 6:25 p.m. to honor our seniors for cheerleading and for football. Volleyball, boys and girls soccer sectionals all started this week. We had a thrilling victory in double overtime last night, our girls soccer team defeating Brush by the score of 2-1. So they're advancing to sectional final play on Thursday at Twinsburg. Our boys will open up play tomorrow at Nordonia. Football team is currently ranked 9th in our region. The top 16 teams make the playoffs. The top 8 host. So we're right on the bubble, of possibly hosting the playoff game with a victory this Friday.
Okay.
Other than that, that's all I have for tonight. Things are starting to wind down for fall sports. It's been an interesting season.
Right?
And in line with Mr. Nicholson's athletic report to the board this evening, I'd like to announce publicly that our athletic council meeting for this Thursday is going to be postponed, and it's going to be rescheduled until Monday, November 1st at 5:30, and the location's also going to change to the Warren City School District Board of Education building. Really, we don't have items to meet on. Mr. Nicholson really just discussed everything that we would be discussing and covered it in under 2 minutes. So no point to have a meeting for the sake of having a meeting. So we figured we would have one in approximately 2 weeks from now, and then we'll determine where we are with the November meeting. I know we have some recreation and wellness center business that we're going to need to start exploring as an athletic council, and we will be working on that and timeframes moving forward between current all the way through November and December. So our athletic council meeting dates may be shifting and changing, and it's going to start with the one this Thursday. members of the Athletic Council have been notified earlier today by email. That was our intent.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, so our next committee report would be Finance Advisory, which we were notified October 29th, right, is the meeting? Perfect. Have you had any RSVPs back?
Yes.
Good, okay, yeah, awesome. Maybe it'll be a little bit easier to attend since it's a Zoom,
Yeah, could be.
you know? Okay, perfect. Board policies and guidelines?
We just had a meeting today for 25th of October, Steve, Julian, and I, to go over some policies, not necessarily new, but policies.
Okay.
Update the policies to be ready for our first and second reading, November, December meetings.
Okay, thank you. Legislative, Regina, do you have anything?
I have nothing.
Okay, I don't have anything either. And then TCTC, I didn't have anything from Mr. Faulkner. Did you? Okay, all right. Do we have anything under old business? Anything under new business? Then let's move right along. Under treasurer's recommendations on page 3, item 1, Mr. Fowley, please.
Minutes. It is recommended the resolution listed below regarding the September 2021 board minutes be approved as submitted.
Okay, call the roll, please.
Mr. Fowley?
Yes.
Mrs. Shannon?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Mrs. Patterson?
Yes.
And Mrs. Lamperos?
Yes, motion carries. On page 4, item 2, Mrs. Shannon, please.
Monthly financial statement. It is recommended the resolution listed below regarding the September 2021 financial statement and short-term investments made by the treasurer during the September 2021. Exhibit A, pages 40 to 41, be approved as submitted.
Second.
Okay, call the roll, please.
Mrs. Shannon?
Yes.
Mrs. Patterson?
Yes.
Mr. Walker? Yes. Mr. Fowley?
Yes.
And Mrs. Lamperos?
Yes, and the motion carries. Moving on to page 6, item 3, Mrs. Patterson, please.
The 2021-22 co-curricular budget and purpose statements. It is recommended the resolution listed below establishing 2021-22 co-curricular budget and purpose statements be approved as submitted.
Okay, call the roll, please.
Mrs. Patterson?
Yes.
Mr. Walker? Yes. Mrs. Shannon?
Yes.
Mr. Fowley?
Yes.
Mrs. Lamperos?
Yes, and the motion carries. On page 7, item 4, Mr. Walker, please.
Approve the application, accept the grant, and approve the grant appropriations. It is recommended the resolution listed below to approve the application, accept the grant, and approve the grant appropriation, A and B, be approved as submitted.
Second.
Okay, any questions about this? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Mrs. Shannon?
Yes.
Mrs. Patterson?
Yes.
Mr. Fowley?
Yes.
And Mrs. Lamperos?
Yes, and the motion carries. On page 8, item 5, Mr. Fowley, please.
Restatement of the 403B retirement plan. It is recommended the resolution listed below for the restatement of the 403B retirement plan be approved as submitted.
Okay, call the roll, please.
Mr. Fowley?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Mrs. Patterson?
Yes.
Mrs. Shannon?
Yes.
And Mrs. Lamperos?
Yes, and the motion carries. On page 9, item 1, Mrs. Shannon, please.
Superintendent's recommendation, agreements, contracts, and/or leases. It is recommended the resolution listed below entering into agreements, contracts, and/or leases, A and B, be approved as submitted.
Second.
Okay, call the roll, please.
Mrs. Shannon?
Yes.
Mr. Fowley?
Yes.
Mrs. Patterson?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Mrs. Lamperos?
Yes, the motion carries. On page 10, item 2, Mrs. Patterson, please.
The Ohio Department of Education certification for Ohio Teachers Evaluation System and Ohio Principal Evaluation System. It is recommended the resolution listed below regarding the Ohio Department of Education Certification for Credentialed Ohio Teachers Evaluation System and Ohio Principals Evaluation Evaluators be approved as submitted.
Call the roll, please.
Mrs. Patterson?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Mrs. Shannon?
Yes.
Mr. Fowley?
Yes.
Mrs. Lamperos?
Yes, and the motion carries. On page 11, item 3, Mr. Walker, please.
Field trip. It is recommended the resolution listed below regarding Field Trip A be approved as submitted.
Second.
Okay, and this is for our robotics team going to Rochester, New York, October 30th, so good luck. Best of luck to them. Go ahead and call the roll, please.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Mrs. Patterson?
Yes.
Mrs. Shannon?
Yes.
Mr. Fowley?
Yes.
Mrs. Lamperos?
Yes, motion carries. On page 12, item 4, Mr. Fowley, please.
Substitute teacher salary table. It is recommended the resolution listed below to amend the substitute teacher salary table be approved as submitted.
Second.
Okay, call the roll, please.
Mr. Fowley?
Yes.
Mrs. Shannon?
Yes.
Mrs. Patterson?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Mrs. Lamperos?
Yes, and the motion carries. On page 13, item 5, Mrs. Shannon, please.
Acceptance of gifts. It is recommended the resolution listed below regarding acceptance of gifts be approved as submitted. And there was from First Presbyterian Church of Warren, $180 to Willard School, and Miss Rose Lowry, Willard PK, for $100.
Second.
Okay, and as always, thank you to our donors in the district, always supporting our students. Go ahead and call the roll, please.
Mrs. Shannon?
Yes.
Mrs. Patterson?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Fowley?
Yes.
Mrs. Lamperos?
Yes, and the motion carries. On page 14, item 6, under personnel recommendations, Mrs. Patterson, please, and please note that we have 2 separate sections for this evening,
you.
okay? So this will take you to page 29, this first one.
Okay.
It's the certificated.
Personnel recommendations. It is recommended the resolution listed below regarding personnel items A through G be approved as submitted.
Second.
Okay, anyone have any questions? Go ahead and call the roll, please.
Mrs. Patterson?
Yes.
Mrs. Shannon?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Fowley?
Yes.
Mrs. Lamperos?
Yes, and the motion carries. On page 30, item 7, Mr. Walker, please.
Personnel recommendations. It is recommended the resolution listed below regarding personnel items H through P be approved as submitted.
Second.
Okay, and we do have 2 retirements to note, Margaret Baker and Roseanne Carnahan. We want to thank them for their years of dedication to our district and our students and families.
Yes, thank you and congratulations.
Okay, if there are no other questions, call the roll, please.
Mr. Walker?
Abstain.
Mrs. Shannon?
Yes.
Mrs. Patterson?
Abstain.
Mr. Fowley?
Yes.
Mrs. Lamperos?
Yes, and the motion carries. All right, and then we will move on to, we don't have anything under board recommendations. I did not receive any emails for public participation, and no one has signed up. So at this time, I would entertain a motion for executive session under the provisions of Ohio Revised Code 121.22, the Warren City Board of Education recess to executive session at 6:27 p.m. to discuss A, the consideration of appointment, employment, promotion, etc. of public employees, E, preparing for, conducting, or reviewing negotiations with public employees, and F, matters required to be kept confidential by state or federal law. Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Call the roll.
Mrs. Patterson,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Mrs. Shannon,
Yes.
Mr. Fowley,
Yes.
Mrs. Lamperos.
Yes, the motion carries. We'll move into executive session. We do not anticipate any action following that meeting, so the meeting is, the formal meeting is adjourned. So thank you very much for coming out tonight, and be safe, and have a great rest of your week.